So today, for this one's more of a, I don't want to call it a round table, but more of, if anybody needs their questions, I have a list of questions that I've pulled from Facebook or through other social media to kind of give us something to chat about today, and maybe some topics to cover. But first of all, let's start with who's in here. If you got a question, hit us up and let Chris and I know what it is, and we can work with you. And there's that awkward silence. Well, if you come up with something, let us know. Michael, welcome. If you got a question, hit us up and let us know. You can put it in the chat if you're having audio problems or don't want to talk, and we'll read it from there. So I guess one of the first questions that was brought up are upgrade versions of the Bolt. If we have anything coming out, it was asked about air, and I know that the pros and the pluses have the dual air, and the original version of the Bolt does not. And I'm correct, Chris, they will never have it. That's going to be the simplest of all of them, right?
I wouldn't say never.
There's always a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, you can always upgrade to it.
Yes, yes, we have a video on that. Wasn't that bad as long as you picked the right wiring harness and not connect to the exhaust fan.
Yeah, yeah, for the external side of things.
Yes.
Yep.
Um, and then one of the other, let's see, we're talking about frequencies for the Bolt. Why and when to adjust the frequencies. So when you look at the frequencies, about dropping the to the lower set of frequencies, so the Bolt runs from 1 to 25, and the Bolt, or is it one of the pros, um, is, I want to say it was 200 for the kilohertz for frequency, if I remember correctly. Lower the frequency helps you with cutting, and then for like, we were running what, 25 kilohertz on the Bolt for doing tumblers, which kind of helped a little bit. The standard's 20, so varying the frequencies will help you shape the beam and get the beam to work better for you. Without trying to sound technical and confusing, that's probably the easiest way I can come up with, is to explain the frequencies, uh, when to adjust it and when not to adjust. I think the only time we ever played with it was trying to get white tumblers to engrave properly, and then some of the lower frequencies. I want to say it was like one or two to cut, like quarter inch, some of the acrylics, things of that nature. Um, Next question that we had was, and Chris, you may have to help me out. You're gonna have to help me out with this one because you know the differences. Thunder cam versus Lightburn cam.
Um, I guess the biggest difference is we only offer an 8 megapixel on that one, which again, that's being phased out with the Nova series anyway. And then we have two different lens options um, based off of what machine you purchase it for, whereas Lightburn offers a lot more just because they support a lot of different machines, right? It's based off the bed size. At the end of the day, they're both basically repurposed webcams that people use to line up materials in their projects in Lightburn. Um, Similar form factor. I want to say they had a small 5 megapixel, and then they've got the regular 8. Don't think they've gone into the 12 megapixel range either. But yeah, not a whole lot of camera differences. The mounting is different, and then the installation kit and the support.
And that's the key for us, is the support. We're really not, light. the camera itself is more of a light burn function and not a function of the laser. So limited support there if there's an actual problem with the camera, yes, but the connectivity and how Lightburn sees it and all that is more of a Lightburn problem, not a I don't want to say not a support problem, but we're limited on what we can do. Is that a good way to sum it up there?
Yeah.
So, welcome, Jerry. Nice to see you again, Danny. One of the other things that we saw, and it's been asked a few times, venting.
Tommy,
What you got, Sam?
don't forget to say hi to Mrs. Angry. She'll get angry.
I said hi to her when she woke up this morning. It's all good.
Well, now it's on a recorded line, so now it's proof.
Yep, exactly. Thanks for throwing me off there. No, venting multiple lasers. So, yes, we can help. But if you got HVAC people, they can do the math a whole lot better than I can. You can vent multiple lasers through the same ductwork, adding fans and whatnot. But in the grand scheme of things, if you have an HVAC guy that's capable of doing that calculations, it'd probably be a little bit better. They should be used to it. At least used to doing the math. I'm not. I was never very good at that part of the math. And I think one of the last ones that we had come up was OEM and non-OEM parts. Some OEM parts are just that, they're the parts, but they're not plug and play. If you look at, for instance, our tubes come pre-wired, and it's literally you drop them in and then run the wires and replace what you took apart, versus having to solder the red wire into the tube.
Yeah, to the high voltage side. Or if it has the wrong connector, sometimes you'll buy it don't have that kind of red pigtail versus the white pigtail. So you got to watch for that.
Power supplies or LPSUs sometimes will come with and without wires, and you got to pull them apart and run the wires in them.
Well, and then a lot of times on the Nova series for the 60 watt, people will buy the non-HY T60 so they can find the MYJG version. It's not quite plug and play from a mounting standpoint. So there's some pain point there where the connection is being on the side versus, well, I'm going to call it the bottom versus the side. So sometimes it is nice to get the OEM part just for ease of installation. You're not having to drill tap holes or put a piece of wood blocking underneath something to hold up a power supply. So
exactly, and I think that's really what it comes down to. Our OEM parts make life a little bit easier for you.
Yep. And there's also some select proprietary parts. You'll see some of the circuit boards have Thunder Laser on there. So.
Yep. And you have to get them through us. There's no other way. But for the most part, the non-OEM, I know we keep. We talked about this in one of the other webinars. The limit switches, or the X and Y end stops, the Z end stops. As long as they fit and they're wired the same, they may look a little funny, but they still work the same and can be adjusted. So those typically don't have to be your OEM unless you want them to. And just one more friendly reminder: CO2 lasers do not mark metal without a marking spray. No matter how hard you try, it's just not going to work well for us. So other than that, those topics that were asked on social media, and I think we hopefully answered the questions without typing out dissertations. If they want to review this after it's posted. But anybody else got any comments or any questions that they want answered before we sit here in awkward silence?
Hey, this is Jerry. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I don't lose you. I am going through a difficult spot with cell phone service right this minute, but um, I keep. I'm new to the laser business. We've had our Bolt Plus for about a month, and so we're still playing around with it. But I keep seeing people say that they adjust the frequencies, and I'm not sure if that's something that, when or why would I ever want to do that, and what's the benefit?
We touched on that a little bit before you showed up, but more than happy we'll hit it again. So the frequencies, when you start looking at your lower frequencies, ones and twos, they're decent for cutting. They help form the beam and allow it to cut a little bit easier.
Okay.
Um, and like I was saying, I had the Bolt, or we had the Bolt, and we would up the frequency to 25 to get it to do a little bit better job on like white tumblers. 20 just wasn't cutting it, and then when you went down, it left some nasty, jagged looking results.
Okay.
So we found that 25 seemed to work.
So lower the frequency for cutting and higher the frequency for better engraving.
Yes.
And that's across the lenses, whether you're a 1.5 or all the way up to a 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help
Okay.
kind of explain it a
really,
little bit?
yeah. It really does. I was scared to touch that button in Lightburn, so I just didn't. I just left it alone.
And you know where to find how to change the frequency in Lightburn, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I do see it. Thank you.
There's an interesting document that was recently published on the thunderlaser.com, not Thunder Laser USA, titled Tips for Optimizing RF Laser Tube Frequency. And it kind of walks through, where you'd use what frequency, why, and how. So that might be an interesting read if you go take a look and find that.
And that's in the knowledge base.
That is, I haven't seen if it's linked to the Thunder Laser USA site, but if you go to thunderlaser.com and
Okay.
search theirs.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. I was trying to find it as well. And trying to find some other information to kind of see if I could simplify it a little bit more for you, or give you a little bit more oomph instead of the simplified answer.
That'd be great. And like I say, we're still in the materials testing stages, and so this would be quite helpful.
See, now that makes me very happy, Jerry. Very happy that you said you're in the material testing phase.
We have spent a month. It's just trying to get it right.
We've been running lasers for years and still do material testing, not just for work, but because it's a new product, or it's a new material for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you material testing all day long, even when you've been running the lasers for 10 years.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I do have another question. I don't want to hit this frequency thing dead as a horse, but I assume. So, for example, I have the Bolt Pro 32. It goes up to 200 kilohertz. So it's not as much a problem with me. But for someone who has, say, one of the Nova Plus that goes to 50, if they put in 60, 70, or 80 kilohertz in Lightburn, what happens?
Good question. Don't know the answer completely. It may try to run it. The tube has a lot of electronics internal. It may limit that signal. The other fun part is I think Lightburn's still capped at 100 kilohertz anyway. For
Yeah, I found that out.
yeah, I notified them about the new ranges. But yeah, don't know what it'll do. You know, I know whenever I run my galvos, if you go out of the frequency ranges and stuff, it'll attempt to run and you'll get some oddball results. So probably something similar.
Where my source that I had in the original Aurora 8, it would shut off. It wouldn't even try to fire outside of those frequency ranges.
Yep, I remember that.
So do I.
Yeah, once you got close to that limit.
Yep, and realizing that, just because it's the same, for the Aurora, just because it was that Raycus source or the 50-watt Raycus source, not everybody had the same frequency range. It says 50 to 100. Well, I had 48 to 98. At 100, it would stop working because it couldn't meet that frequency range, that frequency expectation that was asked of it. So that may be something that also comes up. Just food for thought. Anybody else? Or did that help, Michael?
Yeah, that did. Thank you very much.
Any other topics we want to talk about? Okay, I was waiting for the sneeze. I saw it coming. You got something for us, Danny?
No.
Yep. Just thought I'd ask.
Thanks anyway.
I'll toss another one out there regarding
Sure.
kerf. So I see that within Lightburn there's some kerf adjustments, but it seems like it goes all the same direction. And if you having two mating parts and you want them to go opposite directions, it doesn't always seem to work. So I don't know, do people use the kerf function within Lightburn, or if they're doing their own parts like I do everything in Fusion, do they do it in the CAD or their drawings to account for the kerf?
I can tell you that some designers that Lois and I found, they have it already built in. They have a kerf built in. Your kerf offset, or they may or may not, and then you've got to determine your kerf offset to make those adjustments.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been
you
doing.
have-
I've been doing it in the CAD file in that it's 3D modeled, and I just have a parameter for kerf. And depending on if I change material or if I change power with material, the kerf changes. So I have to make adjustments. But at least it's just a parameter I can change within the CAD file.
Yeah,
You
so a
had
couple,
something to say, Lois? Sorry, Chris.
If you're wanting to, you it sounded like you were talking about having, one kerf go one direction and another kerf go the opposite direction. So you would just select the different shapes and make sure that they're different colors, and then change your settings based on that color layer.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So you could have it be the same cut settings, but have different kerf settings for those different shapes or layers.
Yep.
and then Lightburn should be looking for closed shapes, almost like for your fill layer, so it knows where to offset it. And I believe if like you had like a donut, the inner circle would offset in, and the outer circle would offset out, so that when you cut it, you get the dimensions of the drawn circles, even though they were both on the same layer, same color, and you
Okay.
put whatever offset setting. Now, if they're on opposite layers, you can make them, one of them offset out and the other offset out, and get one dimension right and the other dimension wrong. Say you're trying to do slit fits or something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to play around with that. The one thing about the 3D modeling is that if you also change the thickness of the material. If you're mating materials, you
Mhm.
can have that as a parameter. So everything you just put in the thickness and what the kerf is, and it outputs the right thing. But you have to export everything out and import it to Lightburn, which is kind of a pain. If I could just have a drawing for some more simple stuff, um, then I guess I'll experiment more with the Lightburn kerf settings.
Yep.
And for you, switching lenses is going to change your curve and change your kerf offset. Even as small and tiny as the bolts are for their spot sizes, there's a difference between a 1.5 and a 4. And that difference is, whether it's a loose fit or a snug fit. Same way when with the Novas, the 2-inch lens, the 1.5, and the 4 all have different, kerfs, so that when you do your offset or when you measure and test for your offset, which one specifically to throw in there based on your lens size.
Yeah, a lot of testing has to be done between power, material thickness. If you're blowing through the part, got a clean side, but if you're just barely cutting through, the bottom side kerf is almost nothing.
And I'm going to throw one more thing into you that you need to double check, and that's your axis calibration in Lightburn. When you're looking at wanting things to fit together, and so your axis calibration can actually cause you to, if you expect that part to be 25.4 millimeters, and your axis isn't calibrated, it might be 25 millimeters. So that 0.4 will either be too loose or too tight.
Yeah, I did notice that I had some things that were off, so I definitely have to do a squareness and a axis calibration for all of that to dial it in. Eventually, I want to do a bunch of inlay stuff, and the tighter you can get it, the better you'll be.
Absolutely. And when you go to do it's a recommendation, and I prove this. The video that we have shows doing like a 1-inch square.
Yep.
That's great until you start doing stuff that's the size of your bed. So if you just go ahead and find a piece of material, cardboard works great. The size of your bed, and make your initial cut the size of your bed. It will help with getting that dialed in, even for small stuff.
Yep, sure.
We just had to
Um,
do that again this week on one of our machines. I was going to cut some things and I was framing the job like I always do and noticing that things didn't seem quite right size wise. Um, so we went through the whole thing again, huge piece of cardboard thrown in the 35, and we got it all literally squared away.
and don't get frustrated when you have to do the same thing 4 times, because for some reason Lightburn doesn't hold it, or
Oh,
it
really?
doesn't write properly. We literally took a sheet that was just about the full size of the 35, and I want to say eight, no, probably about 6 times we had to go through and making it smaller and smaller and smaller, just a little bit at a time, to
Yeah.
remeasure, because for some reason when you put in the calculations, Lightburn didn't want to hold it.
Yeah. How are you going about measuring something that big? Are you just using some kind of ruler, or are you using some metrology?
Nope, a metric tape measure.
Yeah.
But I make sure when we all know that on a tape measure, that little tip can jiggle a little bit and can
Sure.
get loose, so it's not accurate, and it's accurate only to how it was manufactured. So I put it in the same spot. I make sure I hold that little tip in the same spot, so that I do the best I can to be as accurate as possible.
Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got to go through all that. Fun times. Thanks.
It is fun.
Okay.
What you
Okay,
got, Sam?
Tommy, I got one for you.
Oh,
So I know. Here we go. So I go and I home the laser head top left corner.
okay.
I'm cutting out I'm cutting out a design that I've made to go basically 2 feet by 3 feet. It's just under the limits of the bed of the 35.
Yep.
And then when the laser head's up in the top left corner, I'll hit home, and it's there. Everything's. It should be able to cut from there, and then when I hit the button to go ahead and print the job, start actually lasering, it'll tell me that I'm outside of boundaries or whatever, even though the design is smaller than bed. So I don't understand that. And then all of a sudden I'll take the head and I'll adjust it in a gazillionth of a notch and then down a gazillionth of a notch, and then it'll print just fine. So I don't understand what's going on there.
So it needs a little bit of room out of the corner. And then also note 35 is just under 2 foot, right? By the millimeters conversion. But yeah, it wants a little bit of buffer space still, even on your vector cutting. But there's ways around that.
Okay. So if, let's say just to keep it round numbers, let's say the 35 goes 24 inches by 36 inches, bringing it into,
I'm getting over 36.
Well,
We got you, Sam.
I'm
what I'm
messing.
saying
I'm just
is,
messing.
if it's 500 millimeters by 700 millimeters, and I come in at 498 millimeters by 698 millimeters, I expect it, if that's the width and length of my design, and it's on a 500 by 700 bed, I would expect that to be able to cut it, but it's telling me that I'm outside of some boundary. I mean, is that like the limit switch in the top left corner where it's just barely hitting it and it's saying, hey, you can't get there from here because it's right there? I don't know.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, Chris. Maybe
It
you
doesn't
can.
want to get back to exact like the 0, 0 line, right? Or the say 600 by 900 line. It doesn't want to get to those. It still wants a little bit of buffer. Now, when the machine starts up, it homes to the homing switch, and then it actually has a distance that it will drive away. I think it's stock, maybe 5 millimeters, so that it drives off of that homing switch in both directions. So you're losing a little bit there, which can always be adjusted in your machine settings. But there's also a little extra buffer room. Actually, if you look at the mechanics, to add a little to the value, so that you can get your full 900 by 600 if you need to get that full cut. But yeah, it wants, even on vector shapes, it still wants a little bit of room at the edges, just in case it ever shoots your corners a little bit.
Right.
Hey,
Okay.
so this.
All right.
Oh, sorry. This is Jerry, the new guy again. So I ran into the same problem, and what I found was that the laser head keeps moving in one direction to slow down before it can go in the other direction, and I was getting this same error reading. So what I did is I slowed the speed way down, and that error went away. So it didn't need as much room to slow down and change directions again.
You're talking about the extended space for a fill layer engrave?
So if I was cutting something that was close to the edge of my bed and I used the recommended speed and power, I was getting that error that I had run out of space, even though the shape I was trying to cut was well within the area of the bed. So I slowed the speed down to see if that would make a difference. Of course, I cut power as well, and it made that error go away. So it's like the head didn't need as much room to slow down before it changed directions because it was moving slower.
And that's the overscan and the what Chris said, the extended space. The faster the head goes, the further it needs to the left and right to pass it, slow down, stop, change directions, and pick back up the speed before it
Mhm.
actually starts firing again. So when you slow that down, that head doesn't need to. When you look at like the Novas on a 1,000 millimeter a second engrave, it's about 2.5 inches to the left and to the right. So that's a long travel for, especially when you're trying to do something from almost edge to edge. You really can't do it.
Right.
I know I tell everybody just put everything in the middle. You know,
Well-
that way you don't have to worry about that. If it's definitely smaller than the bed, obviously. But yes, when you start getting to the edges, slowing it down alleviates that need for that extended space.
Right. Okay.
Right, and that's on the engrave side, because my original question was not engraving. My original question, and maybe I didn't say it, was strictly cutting. There's no engrave on this design that I'm doing at all. It's just all cuts. It's a 6-layer turtle is what it is. And I've made one like 5x7 and then run that up to like, I don't know, 8x12 or whatever. And I just want a big old turtle of this thing, just to have it as big as the bed will make it. And the cuts just weren't going until I came in just off the, as you put it, 0-0. And
Yep.
then it worked. It worked well after that. But then to actually get it in just a little bit to be able to make it go from limit to limit is what I wanted. And it finally ended up doing it. So that's good. Okay, I'm done. I'm quiet.
Yeah, so this may be a better way to put it. So say you got a 24-foot deep garage. You're not parking your bumper all the way into the 24-foot, right? Even though you could.
No, I
You want a
hit
little
it,
bit.
and then I actually dent in my bumper a little bit so the full 24 inches fits, or 24 feet.
So
Yeah.
the garage door behind it, good to go. Yeah, you
Spoken
must have
like
a
a truck
drywall
driver.
guy.
Spoken like a true truck driver.
I've seen some of those training videos of those guys tearing off soffits off of buildings and.
Keep driving until it sounds expensive. That's my philosophy.
Well, I guess we give ourselves a little buffer space, and that's what the DSP is doing. It's making sure it's got a little bit of buffer space in there, even on your vector cuts, because there's still some speed and mechanics involved, and it attempts to make your corners corner, but it may round it over or something like that. So it just is protecting you a little bit, so you don't end up with a jam up in a totally messed up project.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, that answers. So come in just a little bit, and it won't be limit to limit, but it'll be doggone close enough. All right. Cool.
So I do have one announcement while we're in the middle of this. Hopefully I can remember to do the timestamp. But so we've got the Ignite coming up in August. Should be a fun-filled few days in Quitman, Texas, with the engravers and classes and whatnot. There are still available slots. I think we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 40-ish that are still available if anybody's interested. So it should be an interesting few days.
Yeah, for the price of it, you're getting fed for a lot of it. You're getting refreshments and a lot of hands-on training and a lot of, I guess, the popular people in the industry giving you training and discussions. So it's
And I
pretty
told
good.
Grant that I would tell everybody I was going to wear a kilt.
Oof.
So
I was going to go. Now I'm not going. I was going to go. Now I'm not going.
Sam.
it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Hopefully it's not windy, so we don't have to figure out if you're a true kiltsman or not.
Exactly.
It's not
So
West
that
Texas,
was-
so it should be okay.
So that was
Shoot,
my
it's-
announcement that I needed to make. Anybody else? Before we wind up off topic and talking about all kinds of other stuff.
Did you say the dates for Ignite?
Should be
August
the
7th, 8th, and 9th
Yep,
Quitman,
7th,
Texas.
8th, and 9th.
So it'll be nice and warm, I bet.
August.
I'm not looking forward
Texas.
to Texas in August.
Yeah.
It's like walking out of a building into an oven.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Didn't like it before.
Spent
I
4
was happy
years
to
doing
move
that.
move out of Texas.
Toasty.
But again, there's
plenty
what,
of
food,
refreshments.
there's yeah, exactly. Plenty of refreshments, food and drink.
As long as the AC
Classes.
keeps working.
Right? I want to say there's a band at some point on one of the things.
Two of the evenings there was supposed to be music and open laser time, I believe.
And you'll get a first look at the Nova. Well, it's not even that anymore. Nova Pro, also known as the Titan, which is going to be our new flagship machine.
That's what I'm
We should
excited
have.
for.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, we also should have the bolts. But we should have a variety of lasers for everybody to use. If the Auroras, or at least one Aurora model.
Yeah, last year was just Bolt and Novas.
So I have a question regarding Ignite. The website says 8 and 9. Is it 7, 8, 9, or just 8, 9?
Yeah, so you show up on the 7th generally because it starts early on the 8th. So you show up on the 7th. There's like a little welcome get together or something.
Yeah, like 5 to 9 or 7 to 9, something like. Let me look that up.
I think it's like 5 to 8 on the 7th or something. It's only a few hours.
Yeah,
Kind of like a meet and greet and get your bearings and stuff like that.
yeah, it's a welcome.
Is there a packet that comes out for the first time folks coming to it, or an email or something that explains all that?
Yeah, they'll send out there's a Facebook group you should join, and then they'll send out a bunch of information, as well as I believe when you booked it, there was like FAQs on the web page. But yeah, all that kind of stuff gets sent out, and you can ask questions.
Yeah, on the 7th is the meet and greet with drinks from 5 to 8 p.m. So relaxed, mixer networking type thing. So
Okay. I got to change my lodging.
it'll be nice to finally meet people. I mean, we've met Chris in person, but we haven't really met anybody else in person. So it's going to be well. We met Danny, and a couple of other folks, but it'll be really nice to see people in person.
What's is there a specific Facebook group for Ignite?
Yep, I'll go get that link for you. I'll put it in the group chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's easier than trying to search it, because I tried to search it earlier and a whole bunch of other stuff came up. So
You got it, Chris?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So I take it that means you'll be there.
Yeah, I bought my golden ticket.
Nice.
Just waiting to go. Yeah, I'm only a couple hours away, so it's
Nice.
not a big deal.
Oh, that makes life easy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we got a 10.5-hour drive.
something like that.
So you live in Dallas, huh?
Yeah.
Kentucky.
No. I spent a little
That's a
time in
suburb
Dallas.
of North Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, for us, it shouldn't be a bad little trek down there. I don't do well on planes.
You don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we still have to change our add an extra day at the
Oh,
hotel.
yes, I got to get that done.
We have to do that like tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Get told what to do all the time. It's normal. So how long have you had your laser, Scott?
Oh gosh, about 3 months.
Okay.
It's a 51 130.
It's a good
Got one
size.
of those?
And I'm going to add, I think anyway, I'm going to add a Bolt Pro to the mix. Or at least that's what I hope. But, I got to run through Congress first. So we'll see.
Well, without sounding like a salesman, it all depends on what what you're doing with the lasers.
I do a monthly show in Conroe, Texas. And, it just all depends on the economy on that given weekend. It's a gun show, so everybody's coming there with a ton of money anyway.
Nice.
So I just throw my wares out there on my tables, and I've been doing real well with it. Of course, I've been doing vending kind of thing for, I don't know, since 2003. So it's,
And I would
something
suggest keeping a fiber or the UV in mind as
I
an
do. I got
addition.
Yeah, I've got a Commarker B4 MOPA, and then I got some X tools and this, that, and the other. I was turning away work because of my bed size, and I was like, I got to do something. So when I started making everything, the shop and whatnot, I made sure I could accommodate a 51. Would have liked a 63, but 51's big enough.
No, I get it. I am in a 16 by 24. And it's actually less than that because we, insulation and drywall and all of that. So yeah, 51. If I didn't want to have a 35, if I was going to go down to something smaller, I could fit a 63. But I think one time, it would have been nice to have a 63, but other than that, the 51's been great. I was cutting down full sheets of plywood today.
When I first got it, the building I'm in, I had it made. I foam insulation. There's one window in it. It's 24 by 35, and when I hooked up the 51 and I turned on the exhaust, it pulled a vacuum so hard on the French doors, they started whistling, and I'm like, what the heck is this? So I started figuring out how many CFMs is moving. I'm like, okay, so I had to poke holes to feed the thing some air so I don't lose all my air conditioning come August, and then I will be mad.
You're going to.
Yeah, you're going to. It's
when I built the shop, I told my AC guy, he's a friend of mine, I said, hey, I need to hang meat in this thing because I knew I was going to lose a lot going out the wall, and so maybe it'll stay semi-cool.
And I think within about an hour of running one or two or all of them, it depends on, when you got 5 of them that are vented outside, there's no, you might as well just open the doors and turn a fan on and, sweat to death.
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
I think on super hot summer days, there's been times where it's been like 85 in the shop with the AC cranked.
Yeah.
But the mini split, can only do what it can do. So you just like you said, turn the fans on and get done as fast as you can.
My little mini split, it does a real good job so far, but it's only been there, about this shop is new. I have a wood shop next door to me, and I was tired of fighting the sawdust and everything else. So I said, all right, I want to build this shop. It's not going to have anything in it but lasers. I'm tired of cleaning. So we were going to move the mini split from the wood shop to here because it's a bigger unit. So we kicked around the idea a few times. Finally just said, look, just stick whatever you're going to hang 68 degrees in here come August. So we'll see.
See, in my wood shop, there is no, I open the garage doors, I turn fans on, and I sweat.
Yeah, mine's climate controlled all the way around.
Oh no, that would be so nice.
Your shop is also
2-car
somewhat
garage.
underground. It's a basement level garage, so that helps with your
Yeah,
temperature.
yeah. It's it's been real good so far. I mean, new laser. There's always growing pains with it, but so far it's okay. If I had a complaint, it's the camera system. That's my biggest complaint about it. Of
I
course,
don't use the
I'm
camera.
spoiled, I'm spoiled with that X-Tool P2 because it's like exact, dual cameras. Um, I just wish that had a better camera system because I started adjusting stuff in there. You can't, I can't anyway, get precise as I want to get,
The
especially when it comes.
the
I,
framing function and making layers in Lightburn.
yeah, that I frame. What I end up doing is if I got to be exact, I'll measure it out and I'll lay tape down on the project, and then I'll trace it or frame it with the laser until that beam gets exactly where I need it to be, and then
Yeah.
I'll burn it, which is fine. But time. That's a bunch of time because I do a lot of round plaques, and boy, they're a chore. I mean,
You know,
get that thing.
there's a center finder for circles in Lightburn.
Yep, I use it all the time.
I did not know that. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
3-point. You must be connected to the machine to use it, but I just use it this week for a round object.
When we do
Every
barrel
barrel
lids,
lid.
every time I do a barrel lid, I use it.
So when the Nova series came about, when I got this thing, I would have thought it would have been network capable because this whole shop's networked. And I built it intentionally for that. But why isn't this network capable?
It is.
It is.
Well,
Ours is
not according
networked.
to everything I read and asked questions, and I had a hard time getting this thing. I had to end up running another Ethernet cable over there just for it. To
Are you
take
talking
it
about
out of
Wi-Fi network? Or,
Yeah, it's
No.
not Wi-Fi.
Okay, I'm on a network through my router over to it, but I had to take that out of the equation and go direct from the PC to the laser
Oh.
to get it to work.
Mm-mm.
yeah, so
No.
there could be something in your router that's causing the communication issues. But when you go to set it up, it's a static IP. So even when you plug it in your router, you've got to give it an IP
Right.
address
Yep.
within the range. So depending on your setup, if your computer is a 192.168.1, and even if you have a wide open subnet mask, you don't want the machine at 192.168.2, even though by normal networking, if you got a 255.255.0, you can make them talk. The machine wants to
Right.
be in the same. But it's definitely networkable. I don't recommend connecting or sending files over Wi-Fi, just because the risk of losing data as it transfers over the Wi-Fi, and you don't know until it runs, and you see a screwed up project. And based off of what you got there with this camera and all that stuff, I would venture to guess you've got a lot going on in your network. So QoS type stuff would be a consideration in making sure you can connect. Now, for example, I'm sitting here in my office. I've got my Bolt and Nova out in the garage. I can hit them from here, even though they're on different networks or hardware space, um, because I've got dual IPs assigned to my laptop. I've also got a computer out there that connects to all of them as well. Nothing really, special. It runs through a 5-port hub, and then of course my router. But some routers, high level routers, can end up blocking or causing issues with the communication because it doesn't follow quite all the standards.
So when I add the bolt, it can be on the network also.
Yeah, you just give it a different IP address outside of your DHCP
Right.
range.
Right.
So
Because
to get
cables all run. I ran them in the wall when I built the thing, and I was kind of like, "Oh, you're killing me!" So I had to run another one over there just because the cable that terminates into the switch wasn't long enough to come to the PC.
Yeah. Get you. It's
So
a cheap little 5-port hub, like $15. And if your machines are nearby, plug the main cable into that, and then branch off 2 cables, one to each machine.
And that's
Okay.
literally, so our setup is it's funky, for lack of better words, but because we're in a separate building, and the internet for our residents comes into the house, we've got it, wired over here with an Ethernet cable, so it comes into her shop and then into the first PC or Mac Mini, I should say. From there, it goes and it's spread through everywhere. We have one Mac Mini that has to run the Auroras because they're USB only, but this is hooked to the original hub that controls 3 Novas. So she can sit in at the dining room table or lay in bed if she's not feeling well, send something out here. If I'm standing out here, I can run the file for her on whichever laser. My laptop connects from inside. This Mac Mini connects to everything. Her Mac Mini connects to everything. I don't know how we did it, but it all works. So I know it's possible.
That guy right there, Chris Myers. That's how we did it.
So if our confusing system can make it work, there's no doubt in my mind you can make yours.
Yeah, I don't understand any of the gobbledygook he was saying earlier, but ours works. So
It's we'll when I get the bolt, I'll try to run it through the network without running another direct cable to it because I'm running out of Ethernet ports over here.
And that's the one thing that we ran into is it's like it all goes into one massive hub, and then from that hub it goes out.
Mine's the same. I've got a big hub on the wall with 16 ports in it, and cables go everywhere. And just need to add the bolt, and we'll see how it goes.
You should like that little thing.
The lack of a better term, to me, the Nova is more of a cutting machine, and the Bolt is more of an engraving machine. The way I'm seeing things, even though I don't have the Bolt, but the way I'm seeing folks when they do stuff, it just seems to be a better precision engrave on the Bolt series. Is that true, or is that?
it's because of the finer dot size.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get great results on the 51130 too.
Yeah, we can only turn it down so much on that 130 watt.
Yeah.
Like leatherettes and stuff can be more difficult. Like on mine, engraving acrylic, if I go below like 15%, which is the cutoff threshold, you start getting problems.
Yeah, for certain materials, definitely it's a little bit more finicky. That's why we've got, so many different machines, and then we've got the UV that really helps fill in some of that with the sensitive materials and stuff.
That's kind of why when we had a 70 watt of a different brand, and it would do very very soft material, or very material that just did not take a lot of power to engrave on it, even less than leatherettes. To get that. And then we got the 130 and realized, okay, well, this is huge, and that's a lot of power that I can't get dialed down to that amount. So we went with the 80 watt. The 80 watt we can dial down. Works fantastic on those finicky materials.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got 100 watt, and she realized she likes the 100 watt. It just cut through solid cherry with no issues whatsoever. The other day we're talking, 3/4 and thicker. With the 4-inch lens. So again, that's fantastic. But for us specifically, we have the different machines for different things. Now the 80 watt does tumblers, and that literally what it's the rotary sitting in it, and it hasn't moved in months.
Yeah,
It's,
pretty much. I hate having to take the rotary out. It lives in there.
I've done probably, I don't know, maybe 25 tumblers in all the time I've had all these lasers. It's not a big thing here for some reason. I mean, they don't sell at the show worth a flip.
We do them for specific customers. It is really a lot what it comes down to is, is their swag. We don't sell many tumblers like other people do. So trust me, I'm with you. But,
Yeah.
I'm also the guy that has like 8 routers
Yeah.
because I don't want to take the time to change out a bit. So I keep a
You and me
dovetail.
both.
I keep a dove. See, it's not just me. One router has a dovetail bit. One router has a roundover. One, two,
Exactly.
palm routers have 2 different bits on them because they never get changed.
Amen.
See, Danny agrees with me. I tell you, it's not just me. It's the way of the world.
Absolutely.
I used to give him a hard time for all that duplicate pieces of equipment too, but I think I don't really do that anymore.
No.
Not a girl.
You got a ruler for metric and a ruler for standard?
Several.
What about your digital calipers?
Several.
At every laser.
It's recorded.
Yes, it's still being recorded. I got her.
Yes.
It's all good.
Nothing like getting a contract job quoted at your house just to go out and say, "No, I can do it myself," and you buy like twice as much in tools to do that.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
contract
yeah.
job.
I've got to play this to Hope so she can hear this.
Don't worry, Danny. We'll get it posted.
I'll talk to her anytime, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, between so with us, Scott, specifically, we have her shop that's all the lasers, my shop that's all the wood, and then my son's version, which is all the 3D printers. So there's, if he can't find his calipers, he's stealing mine, and then I go to look for them, and they're in his shop. So you know what? I'll just buy 3 or 4 calipers and have them everywhere.
Well,
Tape
and then
measures.
what I had a set that died, so we had to replace it. It wasn't even the battery, it just quit.
So I'm just a firm believer in buying the tools that are needed, so I don't have to, take 5 steps to go find it. I want everything at my fingertips.
Yes, my side of the laser shop, I need my tools. Your side of the laser shop, you need your tools. 16
Because
by
I'm-
24, remember. It's
Yeah,
a really
'cause
long walk.
I'm too lazy to walk 5 feet. Oh God, I'm so glad that got recorded.
And like I think there's never enough of those little Allen
No.
key multi packs. Like there's infinite amount of those because I guarantee there's a missing one. Holy cow! Yeah. So in this thing here, there's
Yep.
the 2 millimeters missing.
It's like the
I don't
10
know.
millimeter socket.
Yeah. Don't know if he'll ever reunite it with all his buddies, but about every
See,
year you just got to buy a 5-pack of these or something.
And I cheated. We printed so I just put them all in one.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a bunch.
I
of
don't
my
see what's
digital-
missing. It's all in one big thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get to see the single one that's missing.
Now over on my side of the shop, you can see that tool where they're supposed to go, and there's always one missing.
I haven't figured out why yet.
clutching a bunch
See,
of them
you
in my
just
desk
because
drawer.
you didn't put them back.
No, they're right where I need them at my desk drawer. Every time I need to tinker with something, they're right there.
Yep. And the printing room is just as bad.
So you do
Printing
3D
room's
printing?
got every. What's that?
You do 3D printing also?
Yes. Well, I
I
don't.
want-
My son does.
I'm looking at it.
Well, I'll tell you right now, you got, I know Danny runs a couple 3D printers. Chris has a few. We've got a few. But, we're we're incorporating all of that, whether it's in our business or making jigs and fixtures.
Right.
And you know, our son does our CAD designs. So if I come up with an ingenious idea, you know, for something for us, or what I think is ingenious, you know, hey, I need you to draw this and print it. So it makes our life a little easier. And it keeps him fed. So the more he does, the more he gets to eat. You know, it's a fair trade if you ask me.
Sounds good to me.
See? Well, we've made it to 5. I will go ahead.